welcome to the Madison Miller Podcast special edition show where I go over my off-season previews for each of the 32 NFL teams. This is the 12th of 32, and this is going to be the Green Bay Packers. We'll do free agents to be, team needs, franchise tag candidate, trade candidate, release candidate, extension candidate, draft fit, free agent fit, and a bold prediction for every team. And like I said at the top, this is the Green Bay Packers episode. All right, free agents to be. We have John Runyon, the guard, Josiah Douglas, the fullback. We have Rudy Ford and Darnell Savage, safeties. And Keeson Nixon, the nickelback, and a kick returner. So, this is interesting for Green Bay. And then another free agent to be is A.J. Dillon. Forgot to mention him earlier. But, interesting group of players that, are going to be free agents. None of them really stick out other than A.J. Dillon, the backup running back, and Savage, the safety. So, team needs guard, safety, cornerback, offensive tackle. Franchise tag candidate, Darnell Savage. He's their best player that's about to hit the open market. He is a player that's been around for a while, drafted in 2019. He was not that good this past year. Only one pick. 23 receptions allowed. Oh, no, that was the year before, my bad. So this season, he barely played. But graded out to be 66.3. But his last full season, he was only a 47.5 on PFF, and then 58.5 and 21. Played really well his first two seasons, but you could argue he's been a little overrated the last several years, but he's still a solid player nevertheless. And I think Green Bay would love to keep him around, so that's the franchise tag candidate. I don't see them doing it to A.J. Dillon. He's a backup running back, so to me, the easy candidate for the franchise tag is Darnell Savage. Trade candidate, David Bakhtiari. This is solely based on the fact that it's no secret that the New York Jets want all of Aaron Rodgers' buddies on the Jets. So that makes David Bakhtiari the easy candidate. I mean, you could have talked me into Aaron Jones too. That's another Rodgers buddy. But Bakhtiari, he's getting a little older. He barely has stayed healthy. When he played, he was a 78.3. And then last season in 2022, he was a 79.8 on Pro Football Focus. But that was mostly with Rodgers. So, he is turning 33 during the season next year. So, it'd be interesting to see what they do with him. I mean, you could argue he's also a release candidate, but I think he has some value in the market if Green Bay wants to go that route and get younger at tackle for Jordan Love and send Bakhtiari with Rodgers with the Jets. Release candidate, Preston Smith. Preston Smith was a free agent signing by the Packers a couple of years ago. And he is 31 years old, will turn 32 during the season. He just signed the contract extension in 2022 with the Packers, so he's been with the Packers for a while. So he signed through 2026. But I could also see him being a cut candidate. I mean, the other one's Devondre Campbell. I could see being a cut candidate. And even Kenny Clark. And then, obviously, Bakhtiari, who we just talked about. So, my cut candidate on this team is Preston Smith because he's being paid a lot of money. The extension candidate is very easy. It's Jordan Love. He bursted out onto the scenes this season, and he showed capabilities of being a franchise quarterback. 83 grade Pro Football Focus, 32 touchdowns, 11 picks. If that team won its division, he would have been an MVP finalist. He was that good. 4,100 yards. He had a breakout performance in the wildcard game against the Cowboys, but at the same time, this could be this year's Daniel Jones, and he looks like a pumpkin after he gets paid. But I doubt it. He learned from one of the GOATs in Aaron Rodgers from those years. He has more talent around him than Jones does with the Giants. I mean, wide receivers are kind of a wash for both. And Barkley and Aaron Jones are kind of a wash. But better offensive line to Daniel Jones, and that's really what matters here. And like I said, Love deserves an extension. He earned it. He's going to be 26 years old in November. He's going to get paid. And he deserves to be paid. I was down on Jordan Love a couple months ago, but he grew on me in such a major way. And it also certainly helps to have a good offensive line and good weapons around you. And I think he got a lot out of some of those guys, like Romeo Doubs and Jaden Reed and Luke Musgrave. Granted, some of them guys are high draft picks, but I think he got a lot out of those guys. So, Jordan Love deserves the bag. That's my point for this. All right, draft fit. Tyler Nubin, that's an easy one. Both their safeties are going to be free agents. I think they might tag Savage. But Nubin, to me, is a good fit. He comes out of Minnesota. But I don't think he's going to be a first rounder. I think Green Bay can nab him in the second round. Maybe they trade up for him. But that's just a really good fit for them. Other good fits. Jordan Morgan, I think, is a good fit if they get rid of Bakhtiari. I think another decent fit would be Quinion Mitchell if they decide to go that route in the draft. And another trade candidate, and I'm an idiot for not mentioning the name, Jair Alexander. I can't believe I didn't bring him up. But yeah, he's another trade candidate. He had some turmoil with the team and some behavioral problems. So that's another trade candidate, but I brought up Bakhtiari because of the Rodgers stuff with the Jets, and I kind of fell for that. But Jair Alexander's another possible trade guy, and I could see them going corner in the draft. Terrion Arnold, Kool-Aid McKinstry, both those guys out of Alabama, Cooper DeJuan. Say if they lose A.J. Dillon, could the Texas running back be in play for Green Bay? Or Braylon Allen? Jonathan Brooks, that's his name. Could one of those guys be in play? Or Blake Corum to replace A.J. Dillon, potentially? Maybe. Maybe Kingsley Suamataia out of BYU. Kalen King out of Penn State. Andrew Makuba of Clemson, the safety. Caleb Bullock out of USC, another safety. But yeah, there's a lot of guys that Green Bay could do in the draft. Javion Cohen out of Miami, the guard, I think is a good fit. Troy Fatano out of Washington. The last mock I did, I had Green Bay taking Kool-Aid McKinstry. Okay. So that does make some sense. So, co-trade candidates, Jair Alexander and David Bakhtiari. I had Bakhtiari written down, but it should have written Alexander. I forgot about all that drama with Jair Alexander when I was doing these predictions. Free agent fit, Kenny Moore. I think that's just a good fit as a nickelback player from the Colts. So that would be a good free agent fit for them. I mean, if they get rid of Bakhtiari, would Tyron Smith be a fit? That would be crazy. Kendall Fuller. That would be kind of weird, though. I mean, if they get rid of Alexander in a trade, it wouldn't be weird. That's why Kenny Moore's a fit as well. Kevin Dotson from the Rams. I think that would be an interesting free agent. Chidobe Awuzie. Robert Hunt. He is one to watch, for sure. Kevin Zeitler, good veteran. Stephon Gilmore, we talked about in the last podcast. Steven Nelson. Wow, Miami has a lot of free agents. I can't wait to do their podcast. But yeah, Kenny Moore I put down for a good fit. But yeah, there's a lot of guys that in theory can fit with the Packers as a free agent. Imagine if they signed like Antoine Winfield or Jalen Johnson. Those two would be great fits with the Packers. But my bold prediction for the Packers, I hinted at it earlier. I think that Jordan Love's getting the bag. 4 for 180. He's going to get more than Daniel Jones got, and he deserves more than what Daniel Jones got because he's better than Daniel Jones. And he led Green Bay to the division round and nearly the NFC title game and replaced an absolute god in Aaron Rodgers. So Jordan Love deserves the bag. He's going to get the bag. And Green Bay's going to do him right by paying him. And they're going to have other big decisions to make this offseason regarding some other players they have. So some possible futures for Green Bay. Jordan Love MVP is already like 14-1. He's everybody's darling. And I mean that. And then Green Bay to win the Super Bowl is probably the better bet at 23-1. That's a fun one. And then, yeah, Jordan Love is 14-1. He's better odds than Dak Prescott and Jalen Hurts, which is absurd. Well, he was better than both of those guys this past year, so it does make sense. He's better odds than Brock Purdy, and guess what? He was probably better than Brock Purdy, too. Matthew Stafford, who has a super run, better odds than him. Guess what? He was probably better than Matt Stafford this year at times. Tua's 25-1. Oh, my God. Aaron Rodgers. He has better odds than Aaron Rodgers. Trevor Lawrence. His better odds than so many different quarterbacks. The only guys with shorter odds than Jordan Love, Justin Herbert, Lamar Jackson, C.J. Stroud, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes. That's the list. And they're all AFC quarterbacks. Jordan Love has the shortest MVP odds of the NFC quarterbacks. That's absurd. And Green Bay to win the NFC's only 10-1. I think that's a little short. But the way to go is the 23-1 with the Super Bowl with the Packers. Detroit still has better or shorter odds than them to win the NFC. So you would think Detroit will probably be the favorites in that division I mentioned in the previous podcast. Green Bay will probably be the second choice. If they're going to be over 2-1 to win the division, I would bet that. Their win total is probably going to be like 9.5. And I bet probably the over. I could see Green Bay winning up to 12 games next year if they make the right moves. But 9.5. If it's that low, I'll absolutely bet the over for totals. And then other like awards, we talked about Love MVP. LaFleur Coach of the Year is probably going to be one of the shorter odds you would think because everyone's going to expect them to be better. There's no one that really stands out for Offensive Player of the Year except maybe Aaron Jones. But I don't even know if Aaron Jones is guaranteed to be on the Packers in 2024. So you never know with that. Rashawn Gary, Defensive Player of the Year, is interesting. He's probably going to be like 20-1 or something like that. He'll have shorter odds for that than Aaron Jones will for Offensive Player of the Year. David Bakhtiari for Comeback Player of the Year is going to be some ridiculous number. So that's pretty much it for the Green Bay Packers. And next up is the Houston Texans.